We gotta get you in focus. Okay.
The amount of times the death penalty used is very slim, considering the death penalty is sentenced to those criminals who have committed heinous crimes and therefore isn't just handed down every so often. In 2014, 7 states executed only 35 criminals, which was 4 fewer than 2013. These conscientious criminals are the worst of the worst, and nothing short of a death sentence could ever be justice to society, and especially the family who is heartbroken. The death penalty represents the true values of American society. As Americans wish to live in a country that provides safety to them, and by executing murderers for their crimes, it provides a sense of security to the world. Not only are they never given the chance to commit another crime, but also it provides closure to a family that was harmed. The only way that justice can be served for someone who has murdered another human is for them to give their life. Let's say that the punishment for theft or robbery is imprisonment, then why should murdering someone have equal punishment? Instead, the punishment should be exponentially worse, because life is always going to be more valued than a material item that can be replaced. As of right now, in 19 states, the death penalty is not allowed, which means that willy criminals within those states' borders can commit a murder and spend the rest of their life in prison. Take, for example, a murderer who took the life of a teenager. The parents of the victim will be among the taxpayers that pay for his meals and his cable. Should he choose to take advantage of college courses the prison may offer, the parents of the victim will be indirectly financing those expenses as well. Source 6. Life in prison is spurious because the criminals get to keep their greatest asset, life. By sentencing this criminal to a death sentence, it would provide closure to a family instead of them thinking about financing his life in prison. The capital punishment of a death sentence should be allowed in terms of murder, but not minor offenses such as slander, because it morally supports the American culture and is not torture or excessive punishment towards a criminal.
1 minute, 56 seconds. Wow.
You argued that the death penalty reflects the true values of America. I sure hope murder is not a value of America.
Okay, that was 7 seconds. All right, point 4. No, point 5, sorry. Don't mean to confuse anybody.
The death penalty, as we have all heard now, is not an astute method of deterring crime. Many people, such as the other team here, have made spurious statements claiming that the death penalty is the best method of putting off criminals. However, I'm going to argue in favor of what would be a much more effective deterrent: solitary confinement for life. There is no doubt that most prisons would not be a fun place to live the rest of your life. Some criminals even prefer the death penalty to life in prison. But imagine living the rest of your life in prison alone. Now that is torturous. No contact with other people and no chance to hurt anyone else. Any criminal faced with the prospect of a life lived in solitude in an uncomfortable jail cell would most definitely be intimidated. If any of you here today have seen your fair share of Law & Order Special Victims Unit, you would have seen Detective Elliot Stabler go nuts after just 3 days in solitary confinement. Forcing the most malicious criminals to live most of their life alone in a cell would surely be much more effective than the death penalty in terms of suppressing forthcoming criminal acts. I don't intend to slander the government, but it is downright stupid to choose to continue the death penalty when it is financially and logically inefficient compared to solitary confinement. Also, why give such repulsive human beings the easy way out? Many of these criminals hardly care about their lives in the first place. Lowlifes such as the ones on death row who rape, kill, and torture innocent people don't deserve death. They deserve worse.
1 minute, 29 seconds. Rebuttal.
All right, you made the argument previously in the debate that it's immoral to kill them, but you're making the argument right now that it's better to torture them, so I don't really see how that's relevant.
And going back to what you previously said in your 7-second rebuttal, murder is the same as death penalty. Murder is not justified. The death penalty is justified. Therefore, it's not murder. And it kind of is one of the beliefs of our country of justice. I think in the preamble it says establish justice. And finally, going along with what Brian said, the Yale Law Journal wrote an article called Worse Than Death, written by a solitary confinement inmate, that says that solitary confinement is basically torture. So you guys are against killing someone because that's immoral, but you'd rather torture them, which I think goes against cruel and unusual punishments, which the death penalty is currently allowed, therefore it's not. So you guys got to make up your mind. And how do you control someone who's in life in prison without parole if solitary confinement is the worst punishment? What if they kill a guard or another inmate? How do you punish them farther if they already have the worst punishment you can dish out? There's nothing to keep them in check.
Okay, 1+. All right, I'm gonna give you guys 2 minutes to kind of talk about your